أحييكم مشاهدينا الكرام من محافظة الإسكندرية، حيث ننقل لحضراتكم فعاليات افتتاح السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي لعدد من المشروعات التنموية بالمحافظة، وعلى رأسها محور المشير فخري فؤاد أبو ذكري
corridor to honor his role in October 1973 war. Welcome, Heba. Good morning, Muhammad. And good morning, all viewers. We are from Alexandria Governorate, and today we are with a new development, a new national project, a better future in the new republic. Yes, Fakhri Fuad Abu Dhikri corridor is a corridor that was called in the past the construction corridor, and it connects Cairo Alexandria Desert Road to Sidi Krair, and in a second phase from Sidi Krair to Burj Al Arab City, with all the construction and the technological universities as well as Japanese universities that talks about a better future and a new technology and a language for this age. And Bashair Al-Khair 2 in the third phase. These buildings equipped and furnished fully for the unsafe areas. Ghait al-Ainab, this area that has turned into a dream for all 12 phases of Bashair al-Khair, as well as the development of Al-Muntaza, that has come a destination for national tourism and foreign tourism as well. In Al-Muntaza Park's major projects in Alexandria today would be inaugurated by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The title of this phase is appreciation, and that's why the construction corridor would be called the Fakhri Fuad Muhammad Abu Dhikri corridor in appreciation to the role he played in 1973 war. The President has given directives to the government to call a number of roads and development projects after a number of Egyptian heroes in respect to their military background, one of which is Muhammad Abu Dhikri, as he was one of the naval commanders who was the commander of the Navy in 1973 war, in addition to planning for the destruction of Eilat in 1967. So these are the symbols of the country who inscribed the great history of Egypt, and now the new generations are writing a new history for the Arab Republic of Egypt, a new republic working for sustainable development and benefiting from the resources for this generation and the future generation. Also, Cairo Station in Alexandria was also renovated, and it will be inaugurated today with the objective of creating a market around the station to receive the visitors and provide services to street sellers, as well as stops for vehicles and buses, a lot in Alexandria Governorate. This corridor is considered to be a main road that connects the heart of Alexandria to the other cities to keep pace with the development in this area. It is a comprehensive project also to expand this corridor as part of the plan for developing Alexandria, in addition to opening new corridors for development. Fakhri Fuad Abu Dhikri corridor is considered to be a great development for the people in Alexandria. Alexandria from the east to west is witnessing great unprecedented development and construction projects, on top of which is this one. And this would facilitate traffic and mobility in Alexandria.
مناطق جاذبة للاستثمار، مناطق
investment attracting areas as well as smart oil stations. Civil society organizations are working in this place, as well as 46,000 direct and indirect job opportunities in these projects. In the near future, new Mansoura project was inaugurated on the Mediterranean Sea, and today we are opening a new project in Alexandria Governorate, as well as a number of national projects.
السلام عليكم. اتفضلوا.
Peace be upon you. Would you please take your seats?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, Your Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, distinguished guests, we'd like to welcome you from the Bride of the Mediterranean Sea, Alexandria Governorate. A few days ago, we were with you from the Pearl of the Delta, New Mansoura city, achieving a new accomplishment that would be added to Egypt's accomplishments. And today, Alexandria Governorate, the Pearl of the Mediterranean, the city of beauty and history, is witnessing the inauguration of Abu Zikri corridor, West Alexandria, and it puts it on the sustainable development map of Egypt. It would be a free corridor that would carry a lot of investment projects, as we will see today, also the inauguration of a number of other projects. The continuous achievements in Egypt proved to the whole world the ability and the will of Egyptians to work, succeed, take a brave decision as well as accurate planning with excellent implementation and performance. And this emphasized to the whole world that the Egyptians showed how they would stand by the political leadership before all challenges. The first thing to start with is verses from the Holy Quran. It would be recited by Sheikh Hani al-Husseini.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط وأنزلنا الحديد فيه بأس شديد ومنافع للناس وليعلم الله من ينصره ورسله بالغيب إن الله قوي عزيز. صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم. تحديات كبيرة يواجهها العالم في المجال الاقتصادي في الفترة الأخيرة.
field of economy. What about Egypt and confronting such challenges? Dr. Hala Said, the Minister of Planning and Economic Development, will talk to us about that. In the name of Allah, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, ladies and gentlemen. Recently, the whole world started witnessing big challenges and consecutive crises. And these are external shocks the whole world is facing that influences all countries, and of course it influences Egypt as well. So let me, the President, explain to the people what is happening, what are the reasons for these crises, how do they influence Egypt, and what does the state do to confront these crises and reduce their impacts on the Egyptian citizen. When you see today the shocks and the external challenges the world is facing, we started with COVID, and we have seen also mutations for COVID, and afterwards we have seen the geopolitical crises, the most important of which is the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, energy crisis in Europe, lack of energy, and this led to disturbances in the supply chains, as a result of which the shipping prices increased. So the result is a shortage in the strategic commodities, food and energy, as a result of that increase in prices. How did this happen? You remember when the pandemic started, it was an unprecedented pandemic that led to shut down in a number of countries. This shutdown resulted in the suspension of the production, and advanced and developed countries, to face this shutdown, made a number of incentives packages for 16 trillion US dollars. As a result of these packages, once the pandemic declined, there started to be openness, so the demand increased on services and commodities, and in the meantime the production sectors in these countries were not ready with enough supply. The factories were not operating, the farms, all the production sectors did not have enough supply. So the result was an increase in prices and an inflation wave that appeared by the end of 2021. By the beginning of 2022, the Russian-Ukrainian crisis started, and this increased the turbulences in supply chains, lack of commodities, and increased inflation. People are asking why Russia and Ukraine had this influence. When we see today the role of Russia and Ukraine in the international trade, we'll find that 53% of the exports of grown grains and sunflower oil comes from Russia and Ukraine. 30% of the world wheat comes from these two countries, 14% for the corn, and 17% of gas and 12% of oil comes from these two countries. In addition to the fact that energy influences a lot of commodities, so these two countries had a great influence of international trade and the increase in prices of commodities. As a result of that, we will find that by the end of 2019, the inflation worldwide was 2%, and now it is 9%, 8.6% accurately. When we look at the main commodity, the corn increased in price by 70%, wheat 60%, natural gas more than 170% increase. When this inflation happens, what do countries do? Most of countries worldwide, their central banks want to take liquidity from the market to reduce the increase of prices. So we find that this red color shows the countries whose central banks increased the interest rate half a point to 1 point continuously. And this leads to increase in borrowing cost, turning the capital from areas into more attractive areas for interest rates. Increase in interest rates has an impact on shrinking policies that leads to slowdown in economic growth. And when we look at the three entities, the main engine for the world economy, United States, China, and Europe, why do we consider them to be the main engines for the economy? Because they represent 50% of world production. So when we look at the average growth rates worldwide, we're talking about a growth rate that won't be more than 2.7%, and there are estimates that it would be even less than 2%. When we look at United States, China, and Europe, it's expected that the growth rate in US would be 1%, and they expect that next year it would be negative. The inflation rates will reach 7% in comparison to their target 2%. China has the zero COVID policy, and you can see the problems in China. So we're talking here about a growth rate of 3.2%, and it was 7%. And also the real estate crisis in China would aggravate this problem. Europe, with the energy crisis, is talking about a growth rate of 0.5% and inflation rate that exceeds 10%. So Europe is going through a wave of cold due to lack of gas, and this of course would impact them during winter, as well as important industries like fertilizers, and this would influence food security as well. UK announced the sixth biggest economy in the world is talking about the inflation rate of 11%, the highest in UK for 40 years. And they are talking about austerity measures, increase in taxes, reduction of expenses on public services. All this says that the world is going to witness a wave of inflation and stagnation. The growth rate would decrease and the inflation rate would increase, and this is related to an increase in debts and the ratio of debt to GDP. And this is emphasized by all economists. Dr. Mohammed Al-Arian Rubini, the biggest economist in New York, who predicted this crisis, as well as the executive director of IMF. They are all saying that next year would be a difficult one and the whole world would be in a state of stagnation and inflation. And this leads also to uncertainty. And this is the main message that came from the G20 summit held in November in Indonesia. They were all talking about inflation and stagnation and a high level of uncertainty, and also the polls of the citizens showed so. In light of these difficult developments, the decision maker has a number of difficult options to choose, whether to take severe measures as UK did, and this will lead to a long-term recession period, or to take less measures. So the options before the decision makers in all these countries are difficult. Where does Egypt stand? Egypt is a state that influences the world and is being influenced by it. We are not isolated, and it's important to say, by being influenced by these crises, what does the state do to reduce the negative impacts of these crises on the citizens? In fact, There are always three important indicators for an economic policy to achieve a sustainable economic performance: high levels of employment, stability in prices. These are the three indicators that are not easy to be met, especially during challenges. It's even more difficult to achieve this balance. And it's important to emphasize that by the end of 2021, we reached a model level in these three indicators, and we had a balance in the indicators of macroeconomic performance. The growth rate in 2021 was 7.1%, and we had suitable levels of employment. The unemployment rate was 4.4%, and the inflation was 5.2%. So these were the three indicators that were balanced by the end of 2021 before the geopolitical crisis. We have a vision, of course, to deal with these crises, because there are a lot of crises and shocks, and this might not be the last. So it is so important to say that in the state's vision, we have short-term policies made by the state to reduce the impact of the shocks on citizens, and we have medium-term and long-term plans to enhance the resilience of the Egyptian economy. What did we do? And you have all seen these measures. The short-term measures are interventions made by the state during the crisis. We reduced the minimum wages, an exceptional bonus, a draft bill for raising the tax exemption to 30,000. We provided financial support and ration cards to the well-deserved families, and no increase in fees, as well as increasing the financial subsidy in Takaful and Karama. Dr. Hala, I will interrupt you. Would you show the previous slide, please? While Dr. Hala is speaking now, I wish that we look at these 5 elements she talked about. And let's go to one of them, because people might be aware of the others, but I will talk about point 4. We as a state was keen on not reflecting this high cost on citizens. When Dr. Hala talked about the increase of prices by 16 to 70% of wheat and corn, the wheat and corn we import are a lot, but we did not reflect this increase in prices on the citizens. Why am I saying this? Because people might say that the prices are high. But I would like to say that the state tried to reduce the impact on the citizens. And the purpose of this presentation is that we as a state would tell people what is happening and what did we, the state, do about it. Yes, regardless of these measures we took, some might say they are not enough. I agree that they are not enough, but I would like to say that this figure could have increased, but item 4 would not be tackled. But by doing so, I raised the minimum wages for the government sector. As for the rest of the state, there is the private sector, and I cannot impose on the private sector in light of the changes taking place and the problem with the supply chains to do more. Dr. Hala also said that there is a problem with energy in Europe. So you need to know that this would result in an increase in European products to make up for the cost. They are not going to pay more for energy and not reflect this on the products they produce. So for item 4, and I said this during our meeting in Al-Mansoura when someone was talking about fertilizers, I said that if we would put the real cost of fertilizers and electricity, then people won't be able to pay for these products. So I would like to say that although the doctor mentioned just a number of points, but I would like to say here to the Egyptians, all Egyptians, if I did not deal with item 4 and the state did not incur all this cost of electricity and gas, then this would have increased the price. As we said, that worldwide the natural gas price increased by 170%. And the Ministry of Electricity does not take natural gas at this price, and the fertilizers factories do not take gas at this price as well. Secondly, for electricity, if we're talking about a real price after the increase of the production cost, then it would have been very costly for factories and for citizens, and this did not happen. I just wanted to comment on this point. And as Your Excellency said, in developed countries, the government makes the citizens incur the increase in prices, but we do not do this. We incur the increase in costs rather than making the citizen incur it. Of course, increase of Takaful and Karama from 4 million families to 5 million families. And the government took a number of steps to rationalize government expenses, and the state pumped a large amount of commodities at suitable prices in markets. And as the president said, the prices could have been 3 or 4 more if we have not intervened with these measures. The medium-term plans, these are the plans that increase the resilience of the state in facing it. The first thing, in the first phase of the economic reforms, there has been an increase in the volume of investments in infrastructure to achieve development and to make up for investments before 2014 in infrastructure. And secondly, face the setbacks in private investments during the political instability between 2011-2014 and also during COVID, because there was a state of uncertainty, so the state intervenes to make up for this. And thirdly, I cannot have production sectors and meet the needs of the production sectors without infrastructure. Industry, agriculture, telecommunications need infrastructure, so I meet their needs first. Point 4 is an important one. It is achieving spatial equality. Part of spatial equality is related to social justice. What does it mean, spatial justice? It means that I need to provide services in different parts of the state, schools, clinics. I want to be able to provide these services unless I have a good network of roads in order not to deprive certain areas from services. So the spatial justice is a very important element for social justice and investment in infrastructure. What was this reflected on? It is reflected on improving the unemployment rate. It reduced from 12% to 7.2% in 2021-2022. And as you can see, it improved the quality of infrastructure, and this means quality services for the citizens and quality life for citizens. quality roads, electricity, innovation, telecommunication. These are important indicators. Another important point, when we look with the increase in population over the 15 years, 30 million citizens, and the per capita share of public investments has increased tenfold during the previous 14 or 15 years. The next phase is an important one because this increases the resilience of the Egyptian economy, and this has four main elements. The first is increasing the relative weight of production sectors, industry, agriculture, telecommunications, IT, improve the investment environment, improving the labor market, and also achieve social justice with its comprehensive concept. When we look at the three sectors we are focusing on, we're talking, of course, about the localization of industry and targeting specific industries connected and related to other industries, and we want them to have a technological element because this would make a leap, and it is related also to feeding industries, so increasing the productivity of telecommunication and IT and providing decent jobs, as well as achieving food security, water security, and the expansion in crops like wheat and the increase of silos. The second element, role of the private sector. The private sector is a main partner to development, and the state took a number of measures to enhance the role of the private sector. We accepted the document of state ownership, and we amended the law of partnership with the private sector, looking at the challenges, the practices on the ground. We enforced the articles of the investment law for the golden license, not to exceed 20 days. We launched the first strategy for intellectual property, also neutral competitiveness, as well as encouraging the private sector to be part of different investments, and the Suez Canal economic zone as a logistical hub, and a number of incentives for the localization of green industries. The third element is the labor market. We are a big state and we have a big labor market, and despite the population challenge, we as a big market has a high percentage of youth, so the labor market needs are met. For the first time, we focus on the supply and the outcomes of the education process, be it in higher education or vocational education, increasing the number of students as well as adopting vocational education and technical training. We need to change the image of vocational education, and to do so I need to accredit these schools, and this is done in full partnership with the private sector because it is the main beneficiary of this workforce, and we launched the first portable for sectoral skills with the private sector. The fourth element is social protection. Social protection covers, when I talk about multidimensional poverty, I talk about the right to development as one of human rights. And we're talking here also about the main services to be upgraded. And you can see the increase in the investments, be it in the education sector or health sector, that had increased by 1,200% between 2014 and 2022. And the same applies to the health sector, in addition to investing in the human capital and capacity building programs. Despite all these unprecedented challenges the world is facing, we are working according to the comprehensive development project to achieve decent life project. And this covers multidimensional poverty. And if we look at the level of accessibility of services, it has improved 60 points from 30% to 90% in most of the services. Despite the successive crises, the Egyptian economy is expected to achieve a growth rate by the end of this year by 5%, and it is always so important to know what does this growth rate represent. It represents the level of production and employment in this country. This comes from real sectors: agriculture, IT, tourism, Suez Canal, whose growth increased by 27%. So it is a real growth coming from real sectors. With targeting all these measures, be it policies or urgent plans and programs or structural reforms for the economy, they all want to achieve this uneasy balance, and the economic growth would keep increasing and would be sustainable, and we achieve high employment rates with the increase in the labor market that ranges between 900,000 to 1 million citizens annually, and the unemployment rate is only 7%, and we want the inflation rate to be less, and it is 16%, and it could have been threefold more if the country did not intervene. At the end, the president, as a message, the state is doing a number of plans and measures to achieve balances difficult to be achieved in normal conditions. So what about abnormal conditions with the increase in prices? If it was not for the intervention of the state, the things would have been worse, and the state, in light of this, is dealing with thorny files like unsafe areas and slums, and these were files that were not covered for long years, and still we are implementing development initiatives which are the biggest not only in the history of Egypt but worldwide, not only regarding the volume of funding but the number of people who benefit from it and the services people receive, and the state emphasizes that it is working on structural and radical reforms to increase the capability of the Egyptian economy, and the unity of the citizen, the private sector, the civil society with the government would enable us to be always in a better position. Thank you. Excuse me, Dr. Hala. Would we please show the previous slide? Let's look at this figure. Dr. Hala said that every year the labor market receives 900,000 to 1 million citizens. So if in 2022 up till 2025, 3 years, so you need to provide job opportunities. How many? 3 million job opportunities over these 3 years. And this, of course, job opportunity should be with a minimum wage. So look at this figure, because this figure might seem to be something ordinary. So I speak to all Egyptians. How can we provide 3 million job opportunities over the coming 3 or 4 years? 1 million job opportunities every year, more than those who are already in the labor market. So look at this figure, because it is not an easy one. And there are no countries in the world that can deal with this. So we're not talking about 2025. What about the year 2030? Can we create job opportunities for 3 million? Because a lot of people say, why don't you construct factories? When we talk about sectors The state did not leave a sector without working on it.
بس الفكره انت يمكن بتمس قطاع بنفسك يعني مثلا يقول لك ايه
For example, they would say
قبل كده يعني بالطرق والكباري
you are focusing on roads and bridges. It's just because you see the roads and bridges because you use them. But this does not mean that we forgot agriculture, for example.
مين مننا من المواطنين الا اللي بيشتغلوا في القطاع ده
It's only people who are working in this sector would know about it.
يعني الدكتوره لسه بتقول هنا
The doctor has just talked about 250,000 fidans would be planted with wheat this year. It should have been 400,000.
كانوا كام 400 والسنه الجايه
And next year,
لمليون لو احنا نجحنا
3 would be 1 million
اللي احنا بنعمله
if succeeded in what we're doing. This is apart from the old lands in the delta. We're talking here about new lands, the new delta in Toshka, شرق روينات.
ان انا ازود ويبقى مثلا مليون فدان معناها في زرعه واحده هدخل
This means
من 2.5
that in one season I would have 2.5 to 3 million tons.
انا عايز اقول ايه ان في القطاعات
So I would like to say that in the different sectors, the state is working on them all without neglecting any sector.
اتصالات تعليم صحه
Telecommunications, education, industry, agriculture. We did not leave any sector.
وانا مش هقول ان الاعلام ما
I'm
بيغطيش
not
ده
going to say that media does not cover that.
لكن انا بقول للناس ما تتعودوش ترددوا
But I'm saying to people, do not repeat what is being said to you,
مع الوضع في الاعتبار ان
taking into consideration that all these
على الوزارات
information and data are on the websites of the different ministries, Ministry of Agriculture, Electricity, and also on the website of the presidency.
لاننا كدوله نوفر مليون فرصه
So how can we as a state provide every year 1 million job opportunities? How can we do it and what is the cost?
احنا مش بنخوف
We are not trying to raise the fear of people. They come to my office,
يخوفونا انا
Dr. Hala and Dr. Mustafa, and raise my fears. So I tell them, say this to people.
عارفين ليه ما بنخوف
We do not feel afraid. Do you know why? Because we have Allah supporting us.
وده كلام مش مجامله معانا
And
ناس
we have with us
حريصه على بلدها
people who are so keen on the country. I'm not only talking about officials.
انا بتكلم عن مصر
I'm talking about all Egyptians.
بس احنا بنحطكم في الصوره يا مصريين
And we are just telling you, the Egyptians, that so that you would know that we are trying to reduce the burden by the capabilities we have. And as Dr. Hala said, 3 years up till now, things
كنا متمسكين
were upside down during the pandemic, and
بتاعت الازمه الروسيه
now 2022, the Russian crisis, and thank God we are also stable. And you need to be sure that Allah is supporting us. And Dr. Hala, do not try to fear me again. A great development witnessed by transport in Egypt through its different means. A documentary by the Armed Forces Morale Department.
تعد تعد منظومة النقل من القطاعات التي تلقى كل الاهتمام من القيادة السياسية للدولة المصرية، وقد حظي قطاع النقل بدعم لا محدود في إطار النهضة الحضارية والتنموية المستمرة لكل البنى التحتية في جميع أنحاء الجمهورية. وأصبحت خطة تطوير منظومة النقل متناسقة ومتناغمة مع استراتيجية التنمية الشاملة للدولة 2030، حيث تهدف هذه الخطة إلى تطوير قطاع النقل لما له من دور حيوي في التقدم الاقتصادي والازدهار العمراني. ففي محافظة الإسكندرية
in Alexandria, the pearl of the Mediterranean Sea, according to the directives of the presidency to put an end to traffic and achieve smooth traffic in Alexandria Governorate and between the Governorate and all other governorates. The Ministry of Transport has put a plan to develop transport in Alexandria and the northern coast, developing roads, bridges, corridors, as well as developing the marine and naval transport systems. In the field of bridges and roads, corridor Mahmoudiyya and Abu Dhikri were developed, and Port Said, Alexandria, Matruh, Saloum road is under renovation, as well as Cairo, Alexandria road renovation, and now the renovation and expansion of Wadi Natron Al Alamin road, as well as implementing a number of bridges and replacing them with other bridges like 27 Bridge, 21 Bridge with the coastal road, as well extending Al Agami road and establishing a bridge on Cairo Alexandria Desert Road and the 45 corridor connecting Alexandria Port to the International Coastal Road. And these bridges would make the traffic smooth in Alexandria. And also there was a plan for greater development in railways in Alexandria Governorate and the northern coast. The renovation of the signals was done, as well as the development of the tracks of the railways on Cairo Alexandria road for 208 kilometers and 19 main towers, 15 secondary towers and 18 crossings to increase safety in railways and the capacity of Cairo Alexandria railways now is 286 trains per day instead of 140 before the development, and the number of passengers increased to be 54 million annually instead of 36 million passengers only. And work is going on with hope through launching the project of the LTD for 200 kilometers from Al-Ain Al-Sukhna, Alexandria, Al-Alamin, Matruh, with a length of 675 kilometers, and other projects inside Alexandria. Now there will establish Abu Qir Alexandria Cairo station subway instead of Abu Qir train, and there is a study to develop the tram of Al-Raml for a length of 13.2 kilometers, and the development happened in Damanhur railway stations, as well as other 7 stations in Alexandria Governorate, like Alexandria Station that was renovated, keeping its historical architecture and design, and the rooms, as well as the parking and the booking windows were all developed, as well as developing all the platforms of the station that has become now an architecture that comes in the middle of Alexandria. Development has covered also marine projects, a number of projects implemented in Alexandria port to turn Egypt into a logistical hub and a trade hub. Long Live Egypt multi-purpose platform was established, as well as establishing the infrastructure for the new yards with a capacity of 4 million tons.
طاقة آمل جديدة
a new hope
هتفتح أبواب
that
خير
would
ورزق
open
وفرص
the
عمل
door
مستدامة
of
لأهل
sustainable
اسكندرية.
job opportunities for people in Alexandria, a capacity of operation and direct job opportunities. You made the lives of families better and more hope that represent a methodology over new development paths full of opportunities and make great promises on the land of Egypt. Transport sector is considered to be one of the most important vital sectors related closely and directly to all other sectors, and the transport networks are considered to be the main foundation for economic development and social development projects. And now we listen to the speech of the Minister of Transport, Kamil al-Wazir. In the name of Allah. Her Excellency President Al-Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, distinguished guests. Within the framework of your directives to develop transport in Egypt to meet the needs of the new republic, we developed a strategy to serve sustainable development goals in Alexandria Governorate and connecting it to all other governorates as the second capital of the state. The number of the population of Alexandria is 5.4 million. And during summer it reaches 6 million, and it has the most important port and more than 50% of the external trade movement that led to a number of traffic challenges due to the low number of roads, entry points, and also the passengers and the cargo. And the Ministry of Transport has developed a transport system developing the roads, bridges, railways, as well as introducing electric trains, in addition to the development of naval transport. First, we planned for the development of all roads and corridors connecting Alexandria to Delta Alexandria, and there are 7 corridors: Cairo Alexandria Agriculture Road, Cairo Alexandria Desert Road, Nubariya, Marsulayman, El Mahmoudiyya, the International Coastal Abu Dhikri, El Kafuri, Burj Al Arab. The development and expansion of Cairo Alexandria Agriculture Road for 220 kilometers. This was the main road connecting Alexandria to Alexandria and Delta governorates, and it was called the Freeway, and it was opened in 1995 as a result of the fact that it goes through a number of important cities and capitals of governorates, so we were not able to expand it. So a plan for its expansion was based on the following: using modern pavement systems, expanding the road 2 lanes in each direction to reach 4 lanes in each direction in the areas between the residential blocks, establishing 10 bridges to overcome the problem of crossings and to make traffic smooth between cities. We have built 4 bridges and we are implementing 6 bridges. The development of expansion of Cairo Alexandria Road with a length of 160 kilometers. We have constructed the road in 1935, and it was made of stones with a width of 6 meters, and it was expanded and paved at a later stage to be 2 lanes each direction. And the increase of construction and urbanization on both sides of the road led to increase of traffic and accidents. So we expanded expanded and developed the road in 2015 to be 6 lanes each direction, 2 lanes for trailers. And for the first time in Egypt, the trailers had certain roads, and this was reflected on the reduction of accidents on this road by 38%. And to meet the high demand on trailers on this road, we are developing and expanding it to be 8 lanes every direction, 4 lanes for trailers, and the implementation rate is now 95% and is implemented by engineering authority in the armed forces. Developing the Tal up till Carrefour for 30 kilometers. You know that in this distance we would not have more than 4 lanes each direction due to the urbanization and the warehouses in these areas, as well as having a network of facilities and utilities. So we upgraded the road and the existing bridges in Al-Agami Kafuri and established a bridge in Al-Amiriya. The expansion of Al-Agami Bridge to be 4 lanes with a length of 950 kilometers, as well the expansion of Al-Kafuri Bridge, and it would be 4 lanes with a length of 350 kilometers, and it would be inaugurated by the end of January. Constructing the bridge in Al-Amiriya to take people from Al-Agami and Burj Al-Arab to Alexandria, with a width of 3 lanes and a length of 660 meters, establishing Inaugurates corridor. As a result of urbanization in Alexandria and the northern coast and the new delta, and the inability of the desert road and agriculture road to assimilate the traffic and the demand, we started implementing a new corridor, 207 kilometers, 4 lanes each direction, and 130 industrial works, as well as Inaugurates to construct the road inside Rayah without going into agricultural lands or residential areas. And this is the approach that we are implementing in the right side of Al Mansoura and this area. We are constructing now the main corridors in addition to bridges and industrial works, and we started the new corridors by this in order not to get into any agricultural land. Constructing Omar Suleiman corridor with a length of 25 kilometers in the east and 35 kilos in the west, and it would connect to Inaugurates corridor to take the traffic from Alexandria Tal till Carrefour to the east and Burj Al Arab to the west. Constructing Al Mahmoudiyya corridor, this was already constructed for 22 kilometers for smooth traffic inside Alexandria, and it will head south to Al Bahira Governorate and Al Mahmoudiyya Lake to connect to the roads network in Delta. This is implemented by the engineering authority. Constructing 3 corridors for Alexandria Port after turning the Khela Port, Alexandria Port and Max Port, and connecting them to Abu Zikri corridor. Kamel, would you please get back to the slide? I would just like to tell you here a very important remark. For Inaugurates corridor, for example, this could not have costed all that if people did not build on the corridor. Is what I'm saying true? Yes. I'm saying this to us all because we are astonished of the costs. Let me first tell you that this road network was serving 20-30 million. That's why it was not achieving development.
فاللي احنا بنعمله ده
So what we're doing
نعمل شبكة
is an attempt to establish a network for the 100
بس أنا
million.
هتوقف هنا عند حاجة.
But I will stop here at this point.
وهتستغربوا قوي من الكلمة دي بس.
And you might find what I say strange.
جسر الترعة بالطريق.
I am protecting the lakes by this road. Can you imagine that? Can you Egyptians imagine that to protect the lake and not make people build on it, to build this road?
الجسر ده معمول عشان يحمي الترعة وما يترميش صرف في الترعة أو في المصرف، لو أنا مش كده يا دكتور مصطفى، أو مخلفات يعني. يوم اضطر إن أنا عشان أحمي الجسر ده
to protect this
هو اللي أعمله طريق، صح كده؟
bridge I have to make
ونحمي الجسر بتاعنا اللي هو جسر أرض دولة.
a road.
ده معناه إن إحنا كدولة.
This means that we as a state, our citizens,
من كتر ما الأمور فكت مننا خلال السنين
because of things getting out of control over the previous years, people built on it.
في ترعة في جسر المحمودية أو
in المحمودية corridor.
لو المحور بتاع المحمودية ده ما كانش عليه
if this corridor did not have
أكتر من 1000
more than 1000 units or 2000
مش كده؟ اللي هو هشام أمنة موجود مش كده؟ كم أنت كنت محافظ البحيرة مش كده؟ كم
you were the governor of البحيرة
على أرض مخالفة، أرض دولة، ودفعنا
we had
700 مليون جنيه
to pay 700 million Egyptian pounds,
يعني ما يقرب من 700 مليون جنيه
about 700 million Egyptian pounds as social compensation. We called it social compensation. What does it mean? It means that although people infringed on the land and the road, we said we cannot leave people as such. So Major General Hisham was the governor then, and he said that we need 700 or 800 million to have a road from Alexandria to Abu Hummus, about 60 or 70 kilometers. I stopped here at that. I just would like to tell you that if this wasn't there, then this corridor would have been built a year and a half or 2 years ago. But because I do procedures and see how I will compensate the people, and then we remove parts and build the corridor. There are certain areas that we did not do that, and when we found that the population is more in certain areas, so we had to construct a bridge in order to protect the lake and the people. Why am I saying this? I am saying this so that people would know that we should not do that again, and the state would not allow that to happen again. No governor should allow any encroachment on a lake, a bridge, or a road. Even the Cairo Alexandria agricultural road was built in the year 1959, and if there has been no infringement on the road, then this road could have been 5 lanes in both directions at quarter the cost. But we had, unfortunately, to do this to reduce pressure on the desert road, and we did this in Ubaria to reduce the pressure on the agriculture road. I'm saying this to all the governors and officials in the governorates and the state. You need to be aware of that. By doing so, you are harming yourselves. These are very high costs that are taken from the state. The government does not get money from anywhere except the state money. You have given us directives about that 2 years ago when we were developing the Banha Mansoura Dumyat corridor, and you can see it here. This is a big village. Kafr Shukr is a big center in Qalyubiyya, one of the biggest, and we want to upgrade this road, and we have with us here houses that have infringed on the road. If we tell people you should be 50 meters away from the road, unfortunately they built on it. And to do this, I told Your Excellency back then that all the planners say that we should leave this and have a circular corridor, and this would have destroyed 5,000 fidans of agricultural land, and more compensations would be paid. So we looked for other solutions, and you told us you try to reduce as much as you can the demolishing of houses. Even if we are going to compensate them, we do not want to change lives of the people. When we talk of this eastern part of Rayah al-Tawfiqi, these houses are in the lake, and we did not demolish their houses, and we took the minimum space here in coordination with the Ministry of Irrigation, because this is what should be done. So this is the area that was given to us by the Ministry of Irrigation, 4 lanes in each direction. And by doing so, we solved the problem in a non-conventional method without changing the lives of people who infringed on the land. But according to your directives, we tried to demolish as no number of houses as possible. And this is what we are doing now in Nubariya corridor, and in 1 or 2 years we will finish in Nubariya corridor and reach Alexandria, and we will have an alternative corridor for both. Constructing 3 corridors connecting Alexandria port to Abu Zikri corridor, and to reduce traffic in Al-Mak Street. Maintenance of 27 corridor, that was the only corridor that was serving Alexandria port. But when I presented to you, this is how it looked, and this was the only corridor serving Alexandria port, and it was renovated now. We maintained and upgraded it, and it now looks as such. It goes to the gate 27 of the port, and we established new corridors, 145 corridors with a length of 2.2 kilometers. And it is a new 4 lanes, as well as the Dekhila corridor, 4.5 kilometers to gate of Dekhila port, connecting it to Abu Zakri corridor for 4.5 kilometers, constructing Kilo 21 bridge, and we finished the first phase by constructing a bridge in one direction with a length of 1,253 lanes to facilitate the traffic coming from Alexandria to northern coast, or from Cairo and Alexandria going back to Cairo in Abu Talat and Al-Agami. We take this bridge and be back. This is the first phase of the bridge, and we have full planning for this area, because the people said, okay, you constructed a bridge, but it did not solve the problem. Yes, because we are waiting here. When we construct Alexandria subway, it will reach Al-Agami, and with Sistra, the international company, we are studying whether the station would be here or there, and we have other options, whether having another direction or constructing one south the existing one after identifying the place of the station that would serve El Agami in the framework of Alexandria subway. Developing the international coastal road Port-Said up till Saloum with a length 800 kilometers. This road is in Alexandria Governorate and it is 70 kilometers, 5 East Alexandria and 65 up till El Hammam, West Alexandria. This is upgraded to reach 6 lanes and you honored us during Kafr Sheikh's visit to inaugurate it. We are doing this for trailers because we have a lot of them here because it connects all Egyptian ports, and then the 3 in the middle are going to be developed with modern systems to be 6 lanes each direction. And then from Kilo 21 to 101 going through Kilo 65 in Alexandria in El Hammam, it was upgraded by the engineering authority of the armed forces to be 5 lanes, 3 for vehicles and 2 for trailers and service. Developing and expanding Abu Zakri corridor for 50 kilometers, and the engineering authority of the armed forces will explain it in details. And this is parallel to the international coastal road, and it connects all corridors coming from Alexandria port and the trailers roads coming from Port Said heading to Saloum. The renovation and expansion of El Kafuri, Sidi Kreil, Burj Al Arab for 3 kilometers. And this is an important corridor parallel to Abu Zakri's, connecting Cairo, Alexandria Desert Road to Burj Al Arab, going through Sidi Kreil, 5 lanes every direction, 2 lanes for trailers. Secondly, the railways and electric trains. The Egyptian railway started in the year 1945, and the first road was Cairo Alexandria with a length of 208 kilometers, and then Abu Qir 21.7 kilometers, and El Ma'mura 66 kilometers, and Imbaba Al Ittihad Al Abari 227 kilometers to serve passengers and cargo in Alexandria. In light of developing railways to serve Alexandria, there is the development of the infrastructure of Cairo Alexandria Road, El Abari, and Abu Qir would become an electric turn, in addition to developing a Raml tram and a plan for constructing the 4th line of LTC Port Said Abu Qir as follows. Alexandria, Cairo, the railway is 208 kilometers. This was constructed in the beginning, as you can see on the image. It was primitive. There were no machines as the ones we have now, and they are photos from Sidi Gaber and the Manhour stations that were constructed in 1945, and then Cairo station was established in 1920 by Italian engineers, and the renovation of the tracks, the crossings, the stations, and establishing a control center took place on this railway. These are the tracks, works before and after the renovation. These are the crossings, 18 crossings before and after renovation. The signals before and after, the control central rooms on the right hand side. We have the control rooms for trains, and it used to be manual. They would move a key to give the permission to the train to move, and now all the control rooms are, as you can see now on the left photo. And also these are the crossing signals. They were all mechanical, and now they are all electric. Damanhur station, this was the old station, and when we came to renovate it and renovate the tracks, we had to increase the number of lines instead of 4 lines to be 6. So we moved the whole station, increased the tracks, and constructed the station, as you can see on the left photo. And also Sidi Gaber station was renovated. Here it is before and after, and Cairo station in Alexandria, one of the best stations, for example, and it is an Italian architecture. With the antiquities, we talked to experts, and with Egyptian companies, we renovated the station to make it as it used to be in 1920. This is its architecture, and inside it you will find that everything was developed and renovated, and everything is electric instead of being manual. Also, before the 30th of June 2014, we used to see on the right side photo how the trains were, and now up till the 30th of June 2024, we want have, as you have seen in Aswan, and we removed the last locomotive that is yellow in color, as you can see, and all the trains would be the Spanish trains and the Russian trains, and this was the royal train that was made by Fiat, and this is how it looked like, and it was maintained, upgraded by the engineering authority of the armed forces, and they took it to El Montaza. By finishing this track, we increased safety, speed, and capacity to have 54 million passengers instead of 36 million passengers annually. Bashtil الاتحاد الأباري railway, as well as establishing Kafr Dawood al-Sadat al-Manashi 6 October 70 kilometers with the aim of increasing the capacity of passengers and cargo between Alexandria and ports in Sadat and the 6th of October. This is the most important commercial line in Egypt. This line is a line for cargo. It's the first of its kind in Egypt because it connects Alexandria port that has 50% of Egypt's trade to Cairo, the middle of the delta, and then Upper Egypt. And that's why we have 2 branches connecting El Menofea Governorate to Sadat city to take the cargo and all the products from Sadat city, and then El Manash the 6th of October, where the industrial zone and the dry port, and God willing it will be ready to be inaugurated by Your Excellency. By finishing the renovation of this track, we have doubled it. We upgraded all the signals, the tracks, and by its end the speed and the capacity would increase, and it will receive 30 million passengers instead of 22 million passengers annually, as well as the increase of shipping cargo to 29 million tons instead of 2 million tons annually. Alexandria subway, Abu Qir 21 kilometer. The first phase, the stations in red from Abu Qir to Cairo station in Alexandria for 21 kilometers, and the second in purple from Cairo station to Max, and the third phase from Max to Kilo 21 with a length of 13.5 kilometers. The first phase that we started implementing, we made the offer and the bid, and the design is ready, and we were late for reasons in the redesign, and we started the implementation on the ground in 2023, next April. And the aim of objecting is to increase the operational speed, the capacity, as well as reducing the trip time. And this would be connected to Abu Qir and the LTC. This is Abu Qir train, and in the documentary we have seen Abu Qir tram and Abu Qir train after it was renovated. This is the Abu Qir train that used to be there 2 or 3 months ago, and this is how the stations would look like and how the metro would look like. Developing a Raml tram, it would be for a length of 13.3 kilometers, 12 stations, and 1 in an open tunnel. And the bid is made in coordination with the French Agency for Development to increase the operation speed as well as the capacity and reduce the trip time. This is how the stations look like, and in April 2023 we will start the implementation and the operation of this project. This is how the tram looks like now. These were 21 trains we imported from Ukraine, and then you took the decision for comprehensive development, so we stopped the rest of the imports and we planned to upgrade the tram, and you endorsed it, and this is the design and the plan that you can see on the left side of the slide. We are the LTC. We are not going to expand doing this because it is planned that Your Excellency would honor us by inaugurating this project by the end of the month. This network has 3 lines. The first serves Alexandria with a length of 675 kilometers, 23 stations, 4 of which are in Alexandria, Burj Al Arab, Stad al-Jaish, Al-Amiriya, and Alexandria. When completed and it reaches its full capacity, it will take 1 million passengers annually and 6.5 million tons of cargo, and the implementation rate is 25%. The 4th line of the LTC for Said Alexandria, Abu Qir, for 250 kilometers, and for the first time we will have it parallel to the international coastal road connecting 5 governorates and 4 new urban communities like New Mansoura that you inaugurated last week, and it will connect to new Abu Qir station and the first line of the LTC in Alexandria. And for the first time in Egypt, in partnership with the private sector, we'll do it. We will provide the land, build the bridges, the stations, the tracks, as we do now with Siemens in the first 3 lines, but we have increased the track here, and we will have soon a factory that would manufacture tracks in Egypt. And the Egyptian private sector, with alliance with Siemens, they will bring the trains and the systems. They are the ones who will incur it, and the state won't incur the cost or any financial burdens here. And as Your Excellency tell us to support the private sector, they will implement with us and then operate and maintain it. Thirdly, the navigation projects, developing navigation projects in Alexandria is a low-cost means of transport and environment friendly. So, upgrading and rehabilitating the bridge of Inoubaria from Inoubaria till El Maleh with a length of 120 kilometers with a depth that allows navigation safely. And we started working on this project, and we are protecting and doing dredging to create a safe pathway, as well as developing the waterway of El-Waqs. Inoubaria reaches Alexandria port, and when constructing the big Alexandria port and the Max port, we have planned and started its design. and building it, and we will have here max drainage to reach max port. Constructing هويس المالح bridges, 2 bridges for vehicles. These were constructed as well as a railways bridge. The 2 vehicle bridges for a length of 110 kilometers, and the aim is that the container, only one container could go, and in order to increase the handling in the port, we are raising these bridges so that higher stacks can pass under the bridge, then establishing also another river port after the law of the authority. We are establishing these ports that would be managed by the private sector, so that they would all follow international standards and specifications. Fourth, maritime transport, according to your directives, to turn Egypt into a logistical and maritime hub. We are implementing the big Alexandria port to be a hub and to serve international trade and the major vessels through establishing a number of activities, some of which would be inaugurated during the first quarter of 2023. We are ready now and we started operating them, and for the port to be completely automated, then this will be finished by the first quarter of next year, and Your Excellency can honor us by inaugurating them. This is Long Live Egypt terminal. We received everything. And here are some areas in which we are building facilities and utilities, and when Your Excellency inaugurate it, you will find something that satisfies you and the Egyptians. The wood and grain terminal in Alexandria port, a multi-purpose terminal in Alexandria port, and we are here bringing the sand from inside the sea, and we started the construction in this terminal, and the implementation rate is now 75%. Dry bulk terminal in Al-Dakhila port, a very important terminal in light of the increase of demand on grains. This is a very important terminal, and we worked on it, and the implementation rate reached about 18%. Dry bulk terminal in Al-Dakhila, we are turning all our ports into green ports, and we have here a lot of things that we separated and established a specific terminal for them in order not to pollute the rest of the port. And we have planned for the big Alexandria port, and we did the design by a French office in cooperation with the naval forces, and they have started implementing it to create the suitable marine environment. The implementation rate is now 5%, and we brought all the equipments and machineries, and we started working. The integrated logistical system in Houd al-Midras. This would be an integrated system. For the first time, we have a logistical area that won't have warehouses only, but will have also factories for packing, wrapping, and we will have an integrated industry zone, and we signed a memorandum of understanding with an international alliance, and you will see all that when you honor us and visit Alexandria port in January or February. Now we will inaugurate the projects over the venue for conference. First, the inauguration of Cairo train station in Alexandria. the inauguration of developing the signals on Cairo-Alexandria railways. The inauguration of Corridor 45 to be connected to Abu Zikri corridor. The inauguration of the bridge of Alexandria. Any orders? Thank you.
استاذن حضرتك يا فندم في استراحة قصيرة.
Excuse us, we will take a short break.
وكوباية شاي عالرايق تفوقك لو متضايق ونكتة ضحكت من القلب وحمص الشمع على الكورنيش وخد طبق فول ورغيف عيش وقعد وغمس هنا على جنب راضي نعيش فيها عالقد وهي دي مصر اللي بجد في مصر تروح في أي
نحييكم مشاهدينا الكرام من محافظة الإسكندرية وعدد من المشروعات القومية التي يفتتحها السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي. عدد من المشروعات في المحاور في البنية التحتية
for developing the infrastructure, developing and upgrading Cairo station in Alexandria as well as the Montaza Park, Bashar al-Khair 2 in its 3 phases and decent life with the quality the Egyptians deserve. We are glad to have with us Mr. Said Gamal, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the companies implementing these national projects. We'd like to welcome you, sir. We congratulate you for inaugurating Abu Zikri corridor. Welcome to Alexandria. Would you please elaborate on the participation of your company as one of the private sector companies with the state in these national projects? The company is constructing a number of major national projects, one of which are the road projects like Lieutenant General Fouad Abu Zikri corridor. And we've worked on 35 kilometers with a width of 9 lanes, and we're working in Al Malahat direction, and it was a difficult one due to the salinity of the soil there and the mud. But with the equipments and the machineries of our companies were able to overcome these difficulties, and you can see that the corridor is constructed. What was the time frame for the corridor? A year and a half for the part we've been working on, which is 80 kilometers and 9 lanes in width, and this is an achievement in the roads sector. This is considered to be a big achievement. What can this corridor add to Alexandria Governorate and the neighboring governorates? It connected Alexandria to northern coast, and instead of having a trip time of 1 hour, it is now 15 minutes, and it connected Burj Al Arab to West Alexandria and Al Mahmoudiyya. So now there is a network of corridors around Alexandria, and it connects also to the coastal road. How many Egyptian workers worked on this project? In this project, we had about 540 engineers and technicians and 10,000 workers work directly and indirectly on the project. Why did you decide to work with the state on the construction of the new republic? Why did you make this decision to participate and put your capital equipments, machineries in this project? I, as a private sector company, have always been working with the state. But here, during this period, the president has given us more confidence, and we took a lot of bigger projects in constructing roads, bridges, as well as port platforms and terminals. So the state is encouraging the companies working with them to grow, and more companies started to work with the state. So people now believe that if they work with the state, they will grow. What are the private companies working in these? The companies were 3, but underneath them there were about 4 subsidiary companies or indirect companies for this roads project. But for the other national project, we have a lot of companies, thousands, that are working on these projects. El Mayarut Lake, the purification and the dredging works in El Mayarut Lake to be able to be here on this corridor, not only to serve the governorate, but serve all people who come to Alexandria during summer, or connected to New Alamein city. Burj Al Arab. How the project was able to succeed in achieving this goal? Of course, Al Mahmoudiyya and Al Mariyutiyya lakes were neglected in the past. So now with the upgrading of Mayarut Lake and constructing residential areas on it, as well as a number of hinterlands, like the ones on Lieutenant General Fuad Abu Dhikri corridor. This made the horizontal expansion to Alexandria in an organized, non-random manner that would improve accessibility to Alexandria and would connect Alexandria to all other governorates. We are not here standing on a normal corridor, but also the lighting and the light posts are solar energy. Yes, we learned from the president that for any project, the project should be done from A to Z without leaving any phase. It should all be done appropriately in order not to need any further developments in the future. So you finish and complete all projects at the same time. And this is sustainability. Yes, it is sustainability, and depending on modern methods. The light posts are all operating with solar energy. And all the projects are now environment friendly. Once more, I would like to congratulate you and congratulate the path of the new republic. Thank you, Mr. Saeed Gamal, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the companies implementing these national projects in Alexandria Governorate. Thank you. Dear viewers, we are still with you on this special day from Alexandria Governorate, and a number of other projects that would be inaugurated by the President in the Governorate.
لم تشهد محافظة الإسكندرية طفرة في مختلف المشروعات
has
التنموية
witnessed a
والمعيشية
number
أيضا
of development projects. The political leadership is giving due attention to Alexandria so that it would enjoy the same position it enjoyed in the past. To elaborate more on today's inauguration, we have with us Engineer Ahmed Qandil, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the companies participating in Fuad Abu Dhikri corridor. Thank you. We start by talking about the infrastructure. The infrastructure is so important to develop the projects and upgrade Alexandria Governorate. What is the role you played through the company? In the name of Allah, first I would like to congratulate Alexandrians, since I'm from Alexandria, for this project, and I would like to congratulate also the Egyptians for this project. As you heard, that this corridor is for 35 kilometers and it is considered to be one of the widest. And it is considered to be a solution to the traffic problem in Alexandria. This new corridor would be also a new lung for new projects and investments. We are a company works on infrastructure, and the biggest challenge in this project is inside an aggressive soil. So the biggest challenge was how to deal with the corridor and the underground water, and also how water can be on both sides of the corridor during the winter. These basins are full of water, so how can they go to the drainage? And there are also wastewater pipelines, water pipelines, electric networks, and this was a big challenge, but we were successful in implementing it. Since you are from Alexandria, and Alexandria is dear to our hearts, so of course you feel that even the visitors to Alexandria all love Alexandria and wanted to be more developed. So what is the impact of this on the Alexandrians and the visitors? As we always say, Alexandria has witnessed great encroachments and infringements even before the revolution. After the revolution, about 700,000 infringements. So it needs unconventional solutions, and we find that the political leadership now is giving Alexandria this due attention, like this project and the Mahmoudiyya corridor, and we are honored to participate in it as well. It made also smooth traffic in Alexandria, as well as our future projects like East Abu Qir. And there is one of the projects that we are working on, which is separating the waterfall drainage network from the wastewater drainage. And we finished the first phase, and during the time of the British, both networks were separated, but after the increase of population in Alexandria, they were connected, so now they will be separated again. What is the added value of this Abu Dhikri corridor? And to what extent it serves the citizens in Alexandria, especially in Burj Al Arab? This project is a development and traffic corridor, but it is also connecting East Alexandria to West Alexandria and to the northern coast and Matruh Governorate. In addition to the fact that this was a very narrow road before, and they used to call it the death road because of the number of accidents. So it is now a wider road, and it is safer now, and it takes you 15 minutes to go from Alexandria to Burj Al Arab. Thank you, Engineer Ahmed Khanzir, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the companies participating in Fuad Abu Dhikri corridor. Thank you. Dear viewers, as we saw together, the political leadership is giving attention to Alexandria and upgrading and renovating it, in addition to putting an end to unsafe areas and slums in it, as well as upgrading the infrastructure, roads, bridges, and the train station of Alexandria, in addition to having a market around the station, so that the street sellers would find a market for them. as the political leadership is keen on improving the standard of living of people in Alexandria in specific and people of Egypt in general.
عن الإنجاز نتحدث عن التخطيط، عن العمل، عن الحلم الذي يصبح حقيقة.
that becomes true in few years. Egypt is implementing a number of national projects with Egyptian hand and the will and the awareness of the citizen. We achieve a dream in a new republic. We are now in Fakhri Abu Zikri corridor, one of the great commanders of the Navy in 1973 war, and he played an effective role in destroying Eilat in 1967, as well as other efforts. We are talking about national projects in Alexandria Governorate, in El Muntaza, in decent lives.
يسعدنا أن يكون معنا في هذا اللقاء الدكتور مهندس حسن أبو سعدة استشاري مشروع محور
Engineer Muhammad Abu Saada, the consultant of the corridor. We'd like to welcome you. Thank you. The corridor with its lanes of course faced a lot of difficulties and a number of technologies adopted to find it as such. Yes, of course. Although this is not a very long corridor, it is for 35.5 kilometers, yet it goes through very difficult areas. Starting with El Malahat that has areas with soil of 1.5 meters that should be dredged, as well as lakes that have mud with a depth of 20 meters up till القلعة drainage. That has the drainage from Alexandria. So we needed to deal with all these challenges. Why Abu Zikri corridor is different from other corridors? Is it because of the difficulties and challenges only, or the characteristics of this corridor from an engineering perspective? It is not just the engineering problems, but also the engineering difficulties that were overcome. Of course, they were overcome, and we are inaugurating it today. All the works were expected to go lower for 1 meter we need to deal with that 1 meter, and we needed to make it happen. We need to accelerate this to construct the corridor. So these were all challenges. How to purify 5 million cubic meters of the sludge in El Qal'a drain, and where would we take it, and how can we treat it safely through coordination with the colleagues from the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Agriculture. The layer salt, how we will break them down. We are not going to construct this corridor on these layers of salt. So these were already difficult, and thank God we were able to overcome them using Egyptian technology. Or the materials used in the improvement was done by Egyptian companies and Egyptian machines. What are the services and advantages of this corridor? As you know, I'm a technical person, yet in this corridor we have a lot of service sites like oil stations, and as a result that this road is on Wadi Mariut Lake that has quality water. We implemented entertaining areas. Thank you very much, Engineer Hassan Abu Saada, the consultant of the corridor. Thank you, dear viewers, and we wish we will meet you in other projects on the land of Egypt. Today from Alexandria, the day before from Mansoura Governorate, and the objective is the same, the Egyptian dream and building a better future for coming generations.
تحيا مصر، مصر تحيا، رجالة
الجمهورية
the
القائد الأعلى
President of the
للقوات
Republic,
المسلحة.
the highest commander of the armed forces.
واقع وحقيقة.
A reality that the political leadership is seeking through patience, will and action to reach a safe, promising future for all coming generations in Egypt. The phases of establishing Abu Dhikri, a final documentary under the title Egypt is Building the Future. Alexandria is not just a beautiful city with Corniche touristic sites and the sea. It is history and future. But the population in it reached more than 5 million. And its visitors are more than 3 million. And they are all focused in one area. So the solution was constructing the extension of Alexandria, and the work of developing Fakhri Abu Dhikri started with the desert road up till Sidi Krir as the first phase with a length of 35 kilometers, and the second phase from Sidi Krir to Burj Al Arab city with a length of 15 kilometers. The dream became true, but it was not an easy trip because for this to happen, it needed 15 companies, 250 engineers, 8,000 workers who worked day and night under the supervision of the engineering authority of the armed forces. The challenges facing the development was almost impossible, starting with the oil pipelines and the subways, and we made the old path the service road, and we continued it up till the railways bridge, and afterwards we went to El Mallahat and El Masarif, in which we needed to remove the salt layer with a depth of 3 to 5 meters. And then comes the electricity towers for 50 meters, so that this won't contradict with the expansion. And then the 21 bridge, and throughout the road we implemented 18 bridges with a length of 18 kilometers and constructed 800 light posts with a height of 25 meters according to the technology of dimming system for control in lighting, according to the traffic to provide energy. In addition to 2,500 post lines and implementing a network of cables for 40,000 meters, and planting thousands of trees and palm trees to keep the general scenery and contribute to reducing pollution. This is Maria Corridor from Abu Dhikri to the coastal road through Burj Al Arab airport, the stadium, and the Maria Olympic district. To continue it, there were 12 investment areas with services that feed Abu Dhikri corridor. It is built on 180,000 meters, and it has a lot of services like the smart oil plants, commercial malls and cafes, and here we find the automotive showrooms that has 10 trademarks, as well as a mosque for 800 individuals. And for the entertainment, there is a cinema provided with 3 cinemas in addition to the VIP cinema, and a theater that can take 500 visitors, and a touristic site that has a hotel designed to be an island in water, and it has 7 chalets and a shore and a beach where you can spend the best time with your family, in addition to the hanging restaurant that has a number of different restaurants. Have you seen where were we and where are we now, and we will continue for the future of our coming generations.
حسن السلام والأمان وانت الحضارة الأصيلة قبل التاريخ والزمان ومهما كانت مصر وكل خطوة بمصر نعيش ونموت لمصر مصر مصر تحيا مصر.
محور أبو ذكري
Abu Zikri
مصر
corridor.
بتبني مستقبل.
Egypt is building its future.
التخطيط والتنفيذ
Planning and implementation, two main elements for any development that happens on the land of Egypt. The planning and implementation of Abu Zikri corridor in Alexandria would be delivered now by Dr. Abdeslam Salem, the consultant supervising the implementation of Abu Zikri corridor. In the name of Allah, Your Excellency President Al-Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, distinguished guests, peace be upon you. I'm honored to participate in reaping the fruit of the effort in a very limited time to implement a project that seemed to be impossible. Let me congratulate the people of Egypt and the Alexandrians in particular for implementing Abu Zikri corridor that contributes greatly to solving the issue of traffic in Alexandria. And I was honored also to participate and give advice during the implementation with my sons and my colleagues, the officers from the engineering authority of the armed forces, and the colleagues from Alexandria University, and the national companies implementing the project. We were all one family, up to the responsibility and the commitment. This is a major project due to the difficulties in its implementation, due to the fact that all its path is in lakes and salts, as well as drains with precipitation that won't be used for anything. And it was a must to purify them all from the salt and what was there in the drains. This was to be done before building the corridor. The engineering design needed the back of the road to be higher than the level of the water on both sides for 6 meters to assimilate the decline that would happen for the composition of the mud below the water at the bottom of the lake, and take the horizontal and vertical slope for the planning. By this, the width was 8 meters, and this is a big burden on a shallow soil with mud of high water content that can be compressed. It can have load on it, and its volume would decrease. So if we'll construct on it, then the road is going to fall. And there would be here a problem. The decline in the soil for the clay and the mud that is there in random thickness is all over the road, and it ranges between 30 centimeters to more than 1 meter. So this if for this the measures are not taken, it could have taken tens of years. So can we wait for all this time to open the road? No. So we needed to intervene through improving the drainage of this mud and this clay. The type we used in our case was the main sand lines that reach the lower composition of sand under the mud, and above it now we have the sand line between two sands. When water goes to it, it can move easily because the permeability of the sand is 10 million more times than the permeability of clay. We implemented this on distances according to the nature of the mud. It ranged between 2 and 3 meters, so that the distance of the water would be 1 meter and would move vertically in the drain. And this reduced the movement of the soil to be months rather than years. And we knew about the slope, and we found that what would be remaining would be within these limits, that is 20 to 25%, and this is something that we can follow in the regular maintenance that is done for the roads, and then we won't have problem with that. The remaining would be covered by the regular maintenance, and at the end I would like to reassure you and the people of Egypt that we took all the technical preparations needed according to international standards, and by this the corridor is ready to operate, and peace be upon you.
دكتور عبد السلام، أنا
Dr.
بشكرك
Abdessalam, thank
وبرحب
you.
بيك الأول،
And
أهلا
I would like to
وسهلا.
welcome you.
وسعيد
And I'm glad
يعني بإشرافك على المشروع الكبير
that you
ده.
supervised
اسمحوا لي بس
this
إن أنا
big
أدي
project.
خلفية
And let me
بسيطة كده من حوالي
give you
سنة ونص أو
some
اتنين
background
تقريباً.
information.
حصل
A year and a half ago,
حصل نقاش على إن
we discussed
بناء الطريق في
the construction of the road in the lakes
يعني ممكن يسبب مشكلة
and
كبيرة
that it
جدا،
might cause
واحنا
a big
حضرنا حتى
problem.
يعني كان بدي تدشين المرحلة دي.
And we started the launching of this phase, and Dr. Abdessalam was there, and we asked him about his opinion because this is a very big project and the main corridor, and we wanted to make sure that the technical and engineering path is up to the specifications and standards needed for the corridor. And what Dr. Abdessalam said today proves that this corridor was divided into two halves. One half already existed, and it took its time or 20 years to become lower. But when we wanted to construct the corridor, the new one, we did not want to wait for other 20 years. We wanted it to take few months. So what Dr. Abdessalam explained to us today emphasizes that things are reassuring, and even if there would be some decline, it would be within the normal limits. Isn't this the case? Yes, of course. That is expected to happen for any other project. So we'd like to welcome you and thank you. We are glad that you did this with us.
كبير قوي قوي هو عبارة عن السمعة والخبرة.
Thank you for your knowledge, your science, your experience that you shared in this project.
أنا بشكرك
Once more, thank you, Dr. Abdessalam.
شكرا.
Thank you very much.
دكتور عبدالسلام،
Dr. Abdessalam,
نظرا لمجهودات
due
حضرتك
to your great efforts,
نظرا لمجهودات حضرتك
due to your great efforts, the President Sisi decided now to honor you.
ألف مبروك.
Engineer Laila Fuad Abu Zikri, the daughter of Lieutenant General Fuad Abu Zikri. I don't have words to express my feeling. I kept saying myself, we have celebrated the 50th anniversary of 1973, and my father was one of the heroes of the war, and he is now being honored by the state and your excellency. This is a great devotion and a recommendation from my mother, Dr. Najah Shazli, who died a month ago. She told me to tell your excellency how she appreciates the fact that you are honoring my father. I wanted her to be here with us today, but she was the first to know that you endorsed honoring the father by calling this corridor after that name. And then she cried when she learned about it, and she said, I can die now feeling proud. So I would send to her the message of this day. And she had a photo with you in Capable with Differences last year. So if we can show this photo, or once more on behalf of the family of Fuad Abu Dhikri, deep appreciation and thanks to Your Excellency. We welcome you and the whole family, and let me tell you that this is a modest appreciation of the great effort that was done by great commanders at a very important moment in the history of Egypt. Congratulations. And of course, we will give the photo. Great projects witnessed in our dear country, Egypt, in all sectors, and of which is what we are witnessing today, the construction of Abu Dhikri corridor and the alternative of unsafe areas, as well as the investment projects in Alexandria and Buhaira. Now we will listen to Major General Ahmed Al-Azazi, the Managing Director of Major Projects. In the name of Allah, Her Excellency President Abdel Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, I stand before you today with a lot of appreciation and messages from the people of Alexandria for your efforts in different fields to serve our country, in particular Alexandria Governorate. This great governorate is witnessing today the inauguration of this project, Abu Dhikri corridor, that puts West Alexandria on the map of sustainable comprehensive development. Your speech during the National 4th Youth Forum in Alexandria in 2017 was the beginning of developing Alexandria to be really the bride of the Mediterranean, as you gave directives to intensify the efforts of the government and the state in making the needed development in Alexandria, as well as taking all the executive steps to develop the corridors and roads. The work started in Abu Dhikri corridor in October 2020 to be a free corridor. The works included investment zones, so it is not just a corridor but more than that. And during the explanation we review all that. Alexandria is parallel to the Mediterranean Sea and does not have any hinterland for urbanization except to the west. And with the increase of population there is a need to add this development corridor West Alexandria and connect to main corridors outside the city. And implementing your directives, we started the Abu Dhikri corridor with a length of 81 kilometers. The first phase of the corridor is from Alexandria Cairo Desert Road in front of the Sawari till Sidi Kreir Bridge for 35 kilometers, and the second phase is from Sidi Kreir Bridge till Burj Al Arab new road for 15 kilometers. In addition to implementing horizontal corridors on the coastal road for 31 kilometers. And the design was done according to the type of the soil on this corridor. The design of Abu Dhikri was done for 9 lanes per direction, 5 main road and 5 lane service road, and for the heavy shipping from Alexandria, Dakhila and Nax for 18 lanes with a width of 90 to 120 meters and an island in the middle for 45 meters. The first phase of the corridor implemented 18 industrial works, concrete bridges for 18 kilometers with a total of 320,000 meters, as well as maintenance for 6 existing bridges with a total of 130,000 meters. The second phase of the corridor implemented 14 industrial works, concrete bridges for a length of 14 kilometers and total 320,000. All these bridges, the implementation rate is 92%, and after the inauguration today, we'll start working on the second phase, the 15 kilometers. The first phase of the corridor is divided into 3 sectors with a total of 35 kilometers. The first sector is Wadi Mariut with a length 14 kilometers. The second is El Malahat, 11 kilometers. The third is Mariut Lake for 10 kilometers. The works was 17 million cubic meters. And it has a concrete level of 1.3 million cubic meters and a surface layer 3.5 meters square, as well as the construction of signs, and we coordinated with the Ministry of Interior regarding the surveillance cameras, the speed radars for the safety of the passengers on this corridor. There are 800 light posts on the corridor, and the bridge has 3,800 light posts using the dimming system to reduce electricity consumption through controlling the dimming level according to the traffic on the corridor. And the electricity capacity has a total of 46.5 meters, and thousands of trees and palm trees were planted in addition to 250,000 seedlings. The project faced a number of challenges, the most important of which is the nature of the clay soil and covering the water. The amount of salt accumulated and was removed from Mariut Lake and El Malahat, and the lakes and drains on both sides of the corridor reached 3.5 million cubic meters. And we implemented 160,000 sand columns using the national equipments that ranges from 2 to 3 meters. The average length of each column is 13 and a total of 4.5 million meters in length. And today we are inaugurating the first phase, but we have monitoring posts on both sides of the corridor, and in the middle island we have monitoring posts because we expect that in 1 year the decline that Dr. Abdesalam talked about would be 20 to 25, and we expect it to happen, and then we'll be able to continue the final paving of the corridor, removing the high voltage electricity networks is done in coordination with the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy, and we have alternative electricity towers for 104 towers for 31.5 kilometers in length. And we are transferring now 49 towers with a length of 14 kilometers and electricity lines over the 15 kilometers remaining of the corridor. Thirdly, securing the shipping of companies and the oil pipelines. We have worked with 3 companies over the corridor and intersecting with it fourth, irrigation and and water services. We turned the drain of El Qal'a for 5 kilometers from the 6,000 fidans to 1,000 fidans, parallel to Cairo Alexandria Desert Road, and implementing the industrial works to move the waterway to expand the corridor and improve the quality of water in Mariout Lake. We purified the Mariout Lake for 8,000 fidans with a total amount of 44 million cubic meters using marine dredgers in coordination with Suez Canal Authority that was used to form a natural island for 240 fidans in Mariout Lake. And here all the plants that you can see on the photos is how Mariout Lake looked before its purification, and now this is the water color. We used 13 marine dredgers, 180 drillers, and we followed all infringements on the lake by the Fish Wealth Authority, and we removed all these infringements with a total of 1,100. We implemented tunnel pipelines with a total length of 4,800 meters for El Malahat Wadi Mariout, leading to new Burj Al Arab and upgrading the engineering works. According to your directives, the corridor won't just be a corridor. So we want to have urbanization on both sides of the corridor. So we built 12 investment zones, and we are planning for 3 investment zones on the extension. And you will see now in details all these investment zones that would develop both sides of the corridor. In this project, we had 8 Egyptian companies and 15 construction companies and equipments of 1,500 and 6,000 workers, engineers, technicians. And the project provides 10,000 direct job opportunities, 30,000 indirect job opportunities. This project was